I tried to book in for a cardiology appointment, and ironically I got an email today saying it had been rejected because there wasn't enough evidence that I needed a cardiologist, despite having had 35 ambulances for tachycardia. Hey, so I wanted to do a little health update today. One of the longer term symptoms that I had, and the reason why I had 35 ambulances, was due to tachycardia, which is where the heart beats very fast. Beats fast, but also the sensation is really scary in terms of the kind of pressure that you feel. Yes, it's actually really hard to explain. So that was the main reason. That was the reason that I had so many ambulances. Was I was told by paramedics, if you have tachycardia for more than 20 minutes, which is where your heart's above 120 BPM, upon rest, then you need to call an ambulance. I only called an ambulance when I felt like it was most needed. It's not always easy to kind of gauge when your heart's doing something like that, whether this is something that you should call an ambulance for or just wait it out. But yeah, it's difficult to know. Anyway, over the years, they have got less and less. I think at the beginning it was roughly once every, or sometimes several times a day. Then it kind of went to a few times a week, and then it was monthly. And more recently, it's been far more spread out. I think I've had 2 tachycardic events this year, and then I've had moments where I felt kind of tachycardic, but it's not been the same thing. But yeah, this Friday just gone, I woke up in the middle of the night, and the way it comes on is really bizarre. I wake up, and then it's this terror, it's this sense of something's really wrong, and then it feels like my heart's going into a cramp, almost to the point where it's slowing down, and then is kind of getting ready for this whir up. And the only way I've been able to find how to describe it is like a washing machine when it kind of whirs up to its highest speed, and it's like that, but it's your heart. And so that happened on Friday night in the middle of the night. I don't actually know what time it was because I couldn't get to the phone. But yeah, every time it happens, I just go through this feeling of, is my body going to be able to handle it? And why is it happening? And because the heart's going so fast, you can't really, at least for me, like, I often feel paralyzed with it because I don't want to exert the body in any way, and I don't want to cause any sudden shocks or jolts or put any more pressure in any way. And so even like my phone was kind of the other side of the room, and I just didn't feel like I could go to it, which is frustrating. And because it's been so long since it's happened, I didn't think to have my phone right next to me. I don't like sleeping next to the phone, even if it's on airplane mode. I just rather have it away from me. But when it happens, yeah, ever since the past few nights, I've had it nearby and had the charger there. And so I was by myself, and sometimes it's better when someone's there, and sometimes it's worse because then like their panic kind of contributes to your panic. But obviously there's the added reassurance of if I lost consciousness, which I haven't, it's never happened with one of these events, but because your heart's going so fast, that crosses my mind so much. And when you're by yourself and your phone's not in reach, you're just kind of hanging on, hoping that your body will calm itself down. And it has done every time, but yet I've probably had over 200 tachycardic events, 35 of which I called an ambulance for. The other times I didn't. Just kind of tried to go with it intuitively as to, this one feels particularly bad, this one, yeah, even though they're all bad. And probably every single time I've been fearful for my life in that moment. And sometimes I haven't just logistically been able to call anybody because of things like Friday night. But no matter how many I've been through, it in the moment it still feels terrifying, and I can tell myself that I have been through them before, but when they happen, they're just very scary, and it does feel like a threat to survival, which of course then exacerbates the symptoms, because then you're going through severe anxiety as well. So I have, funnily enough, a few months ago I went to the doctors to ask if I could see a neurologist and a cardiologist, because I wanted to make sure that I was keeping an eye on all the symptoms, and also because I want the tests to be able to start looking at legal things, and also for the film, if I've then got tests that I can hopefully compare throughout the journey of healing and be able to sort of show that evolution and that recovery, then actually having the stats and the data is really going to help, obviously. So I tried to book in for a cardiology appointment, and ironically I got an email today saying it had been rejected because there wasn't enough evidence that I needed a cardiologist, despite having had 35 ambulances for tachycardia. Some of the time the paramedics took me to hospital, took me to A&E because of that. And this is part of the problem, that bind, benzodiazepine-induced neurological dysfunction, which affects your whole nervous system, which affects every system in your body, that because it's not known, because it's not recognized, these doors that should be open, this support and management that should be open, is not. But yeah, so I've now got the battle to try and persuade the doctor, the cardiologist, whoever I need to persuade, to let me see a cardiologist that I can get a 7-day ECG. So I've not had a 7-day ECG. I have had a 24-hour one. And of course, there were 0 tachycardic events during the 24-hour one. And so nothing got captured, and that hasn't really enabled the professionals, the medical professionals, to really understand what's going on when this is happening. And so I'm trying to get a 7-day one after all this time. Trying to get a 7-day one, but even that, I'm given the fact that they're happening sort of, I don't know, 3-4 times a year. What are the odds of that happening then? And now I'm not even easily able to get a cardiology appointment anyway. So it's just so frustrating when you're the only one advocating for yourself as a consequence of medical malpractice, and still having to fight. Because I don't know if I just leave this and I don't do anything about it, what is the consequence of that? So I've got a call Wednesday morning to try and get another appointment with the GP, to speak to him face to face, to say, look, I've had this event on Friday. Can you please put this in the notes to the cardiologist? Yeah, just keep fighting for an appointment. And it's another one of those things that crosses your mind with regards to the sort of justice element of this, that if I'd had compensation for this, like everyone that should have that's gone through this, then I could go private. I could go abroad if I needed to. I could go to the specialists that are available, that ideally have understanding of iatrogenic injury, medication injury, benzo injury, and be able to figure out an action plan for monitoring things, getting the right tests, and knowing how to self-manage whilst keeping an eye on the symptoms. So it's more kind of frustration, anger, if I'm being honest, and stress in dealing with the ramifications of this. Sorry, hay fever. So yeah, and then on top of that, I have to go in for a chest scan because I've had lung symptoms again. So I'm really looking forward to the day where I can just revel in the freedom of life without these things. And to be fair, things have gotten better since year 1, year 2 of this. But when it comes to heart symptoms and the frustrations with the medical industry, it's just frustrating as hell, to put it lightly. To anyone that is also experiencing tachycardia, I did want to mention a couple of things that I think have helped me and that might help. And the first one is breath work. So when I have done this regularly, I have felt far more able to, I don't know how to describe it. I felt far more in control of my nervous system, or rather my nervous system has felt more in control of itself, if that makes sense. And just felt like I was able to kind of breathe through it. So that's the other thing, doing regular breathwork classes as a kind of preventative and management tool, highly recommend. And I'm in the process of actually looking for an online class at the moment. And then also in the moment, if you're going through tachycardia, the thing that does help the most is trying to regulate your breathing. And I'm still, I guess, experimenting with techniques that work. And when you're in what feels like a very acute survival state, where it feels like your survival is at threat, then you're not necessarily thinking about what's the best technique that I remember trying before. You're just in that moment trying to survive. So for me, on Friday night, I just went with what intuitively felt possible in the moment, of just breathing in deeply through my nose, holding it, and then just slowly releasing the air as much as I could. So if anyone is trained in breath work or has more understanding about it and thinks there might be a better way of doing it, please do let me know, or let me post in the comments. But at the moment, that's kind of the best I've got for the in the moment situation. And yeah, as I say, breathwork classes in general just feel like a really good shout. The other thing is making sure that you have contact information around you, which can be easy to forget if it's been a while since one of these has happened. But yeah, just kind of reminder to myself and reminder to anyone watching that it's always good to have the phone and the charger at least near where you sleep, and ideally obviously have it on airplane mode. I also have a fan in my room, partly because it's summer at the moment, it's quite hot. But during these tachycardic events, even if they've happened in the middle of winter, I will go very clammy, and like my palms and my feet, to be honest, most of me is just, it's obviously some sort of stress response system, but it just feels like you're overheating as well. So that's kind of handy to have. Yeah, so this is part of what I want to find out, is why these happen to us, how we manage them, and yeah, just get the answers that we need to stay safe and keep getting healthier and healthier. Oh, the other thing that I'll mention is cold therapy. Now, whenever I've had a tachycardic event in the middle of the night, especially like a very acute event, rather than feeling like it's a day where my heart's kind of at 100 BPM and it's kind of uncomfortable, or it's at 100 for a few hours or something, I've been told that just cold therapy, so an ice pack or splashing cold water on your face, can kind of shock your autonomic nervous system back into a rest and relaxation mode. But when one of those acute attacks happens in the middle of the night, as I say, I kind of feel paralyzed. I can't really move. So the last thing that I felt able to do is to go downstairs, walk to the kitchen, and do any of those things. And to be honest, even if I did, when it's crossed my mind to try that, I have been a little bit too scared, because I've not wanted to shock the body anymore. Your heart's going so fast that it just feels very counterintuitive to want to then do something that's going to, jolt you in any way. So I've not done it. I have heard it's good. It might be worth looking at. It has been told to me many times by different paramedics, but just not something that I've tried directly. So further research needed. May try one day. Hopefully these don't keep happening, but if they do, may try one day. But also would love to hear from anyone that has had these attacks, and if anything's helped you, if cold exposure has helped in some way, that'd be great to know as well. Yeah, I think the main thing just to leave on is they are so terrifying when they happen. Completely get it. But if they happen, it's really reassuring to remember that these are things that so many of us going through this injury go through, but that our bodies deal with it. And whatever's going on, somehow the body intuitively knows how to kind of calm itself down and go back to a normal level. So I think there's a lot of reassurance to be taken from that.